WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, so more people can join while we're live. Yay! We're live today.
Okay.
So when we're live, I'll send the link so you can.
Are you sending the link now on the
Yes,
on?
I can send to you through WhatsApp, and
Okay, good. Then I can just push it now on my group.
yes, so I'm sending it now. Okay, so I sent it. Yeah, so that's the video. That's the live video. So I sent it. Now people are still joining. So let me share on my wall too. Once we have a couple of people join. Pepete, you know English is very funny. A couple is two, right? Especially like you that you've married so many couples. I would say a couple of people doing me too. Saw the link?
Yeah, I want to see. So
Okay.
I'm trying to see how I can share it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sharing on my Facebook. Yeah, we have 4 people, 2 couples. Thanks guys for joining. Please feel free to post your CD, possible names, so we could do shout outs. As to start, shout out Uncle Jackson. He says Padre. So, so Pete, you know you're very popular. Very popular.
I don't even know what to do, but I'm just.
Yeah, so that link you can paste on like WhatsApp groups, or Facebook page. I just shared mine. Please join
Okay.
and share. Okay, I'm sharing mine. I've posted.
So how do I share it now on my page on Facebook?
You know how on Facebook you create a new post that you want to type something, you can just paste the link there. But I also tagged him, so no problem up here. Yeah.
Oh, write a post. Should I just put that write a post?
Yes, write a post and you can post the link there. Yeah.
Okay, so now anybody going to my Facebook now see
Yes,
it, right?
can see it and then click and join and they can follow us live. Yeah. Yeah, Junde. He says, Padre, Atroy, salute. Kobe Bryant, Atroy, salute, Junde.
Well, I see
Thanks for
Tuesday
joining.
coming on.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Today we'll have our first chat with Father Pete. Pete is, practical man and a father to many of us. So today we'll get to chat with him. It's been a while. It's been ages. So Jindeko Jackson, thanks for joining. Hope all is well. And please feel free to, if you have any questions for Pete, just type it and we'll see. And we'll be able to answer it. Today probably we'll have lots to talk about and lots to learn from Pete. Thank God the internet is there to keep us connected. So Pete, we can still continue. I remember you used to give us conferences. Remember? to give us
Yeah,
conferences with
yeah.
lots of topics. One I can never forget is assiduity. We had a whole conference on assiduity where you gave us I think that was in St. Francis, where you gave us the origin of the word. You explained what it meant to be assiduous. You have to be hardworking, efficient, effective, and all those words just stuck with me, and they've never left. Thanks, guys, for joining. So Isaac is joining us now on Peter on this Zoom chat.
Oh, Isaac, you're welcome.
His audio should be connecting anytime soon.
Linus is there.
Yay! Welcome, Isaac.
Hello, Reverend.
Yes, Isaac, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry you came before me. You came to my house before me.
Practical man.
It's okay. I just wanted to be sure that nothing distracts me away, because sometimes you won't come for something, another thing gets you off. So since this was in my program, I said let me be sure that I am there.
Good. Thank you
Let
so
me
very
assure
much,
you
sir.
that I'm available.
Good. We're happy to have you. Brian has said a lot about you.
Yeah, so we can start. We have like 9 people.
Yes.
Thanks for joining. Today we have for the Basile, doctor. But there's a doctor now, actually. So well, he has always been a doctor at heart. This one is just like, following the societal order where they will give you that paper and other things. Yeah. So Peter, welcome. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and I'm glad that you thought of bringing me in.
Yeah.
As insignificant as I am, maybe I have 1 or 2 things that I can say.
But they are very significant.
I don't. By just looking at you and what you're wearing, you cannot be. You are very significant.
Well,
yes.
I would only say if by insignificant he uses the term like how people say invaluable. That means we cannot be able to capture it. Then I will go for that word.
Yes, then we'll accept that.
Yes, but if that's not the case, then no. So Isaac, I think I'll hand it over to you. I would only ask Peter like questions that when I feel like to. So you go on.
Yes. So I'm sure you have been watching our show. You understand our philosophy here. We are so very much interested in your humble beginnings. If you can cast your mind back when you were 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, how you got into the priesthood. Was it by accident or was it by commission? We would like to understand, sir. Please tell us.
Actually, as we always say, vocation is a call from God. From the very beginning, it never dawned onto me that I could be a priest, but I knew I was going to school. And one of my cousins, Guanya Vincent, I surprised him the day I was launching my second book. He was there, and I made him understand that if I am who I am today, at least at the academic perspective, is because of him. He was in college, in St. Francis College, and primary school you put on shorts to school. So I kept aspiring. One day I put on long trousers to school, and then he would read. Sometimes he would sleep with book on his chest. When I was in like Form 1, he was in high school already. So I would also be reading in this way. And as we went on, our family was like a really prayerful family. And I went to church every day. I got to be an altar server. And from there, I just started admiring the things of the priesthood. At some point around, of course, my elder brother was the one who was really aspiring, and he didn't done until at least for the you on and on. And I think that's the way God works.
I came from a Catholic background myself. I was a math servant and all of that. My younger brother went to a minor seminary. Is there any factor of your parents behind this?
I think the factor of my parents is that my parents lived a very good life at home. I admire them, the way they brought us up. They really practiced Christianity as it were. It's something I envied, to see people living in peace. So much so that even the times that as young people one became stubborn, they will beat you. At the same time, they will show you love, and they pray the Lord. and they had a lot of respect for the church and for the priesthood. So that was not like a primary reason, but it made me to understand that there is joy in serving God. So I'm sure those were the things working, at the back of my mind. But generally, whenever I was at mass at some point, I saw the priest on the altar, and at the same time, to the way I interacted with people, I got to realize that the priesthood has like no boundaries. You could just keep going on and on. And I thought that was a lifestyle that I was used to when I was young. So maybe that's when Gato was working. We were many of us, of course, who went to be recalled as friends and as young people just going to pursue academic and at the same time a vocation. But it so happened that some decided to drop out. I wanted to drop out at some point, but I couldn't. That's why I'm convinced that it was God who just said, it is for you. Because people I thought were better than me, they said, no, I can't cope in this. But I just kept going.
You just found yourself
I
moving.
just found I just had that push.
But you know, sometimes in Africa we feel a bit as if it's a bit of a tragedy when a male child becomes a priest. From the African point of view, it means that you are not getting married. It means that you are not going to have kids. And you admired your parents for being together.
Yeah.
But now you've taken a vocation, a training, a service that takes you away from this family type of unit. How do you
Yeah.
reconcile that? What gives you joy in in you living without a wife, sir?
No, I mean, just the fact that I have so many people hanging around me, the fact that I touch so many lives. Brian will tell you, sometimes
Yeah.
they're around me, I don't rest.
Yeah.
People, if I need anything, I get it because
Yes,
people just feel like serving you. So it's like you don't have a child, but every child is your child. Is your child. Every mother, like honestly, talking about not getting married, not having children. I had a lot of opposition too when I was about 18. Because for your parents to support you to go is one thing, but when
yeah,
that practical time counts, it's another altogether. My,
yes.
my father didn't really care when I said I was going, but my mother was a little hesitant. She didn't talk to me, but I got a group of her sisters coming to sit me down and said, "Look, you've got to stop this thing. You've got to." But I just told them, "Look, I can't stop. I just there's no way for me to. There was no way to. I couldn't even think of stopping because it was just like something.
Wow.
And there was that anxiety, that push. Yes, and since then, I've always enjoyed good company. So that aspect of loneliness, is even absent. I stay alone, Brian
It's
will tell you.
absent.
Yes, I stay alone, Brian will tell you. But I always have something to do, either in church, in my house, getting administering to people, or if I want people physically, I get them. So at the end of the day, God has a way of filling the vacuum.
Hmm.
In the
There are
time of prayer,
comments.
it's not there. So
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
comments. There are comments,
Yes.
Peter. Sorry. I'll just read the stream of them. Cause Jackson says, I remember Fufu and Aero during the clearing of St. Pius, the 10th college campus site. Peter made a
oh
childhood. And then that was in the Kondo City. So
yes,
actually, Isaac, just to give you context, so Peter actually, through the lens of my memory, Peter is like a very practical man. If I look at his track records, I would think that maybe the mission or the whole diocese, when they wanted, he was one of those lieutenants that when they wanted something done, they would just send him
Done.
there and he would execute it. So you have him
Yes,
moving
yes, yes,
to
yes.
different
Yeah,
places
you've
like
told me that.
Ikasa, Ekonotiti, Mbonge. That's you have all these places that he has moved to effect change. It could be incidental or it could just be magical, but you sense some of them from the comments. So there is
Yeah,
another
so
comment
today
from
today
J
we'll
Princess.
try to understand. Today
Yes,
we'll try to understand where that strength, where
yes,
that capacity comes from.
yes. There
I'm
is a
sure that
question
the
about
Reverend,
that actually.
the Holy Spirit will lead you to explain to us, so that some people out there can draw. Because I mean, if you have somebody in a society, and this is what probably Africa lacks, maybe this is my thinking, whereby things we have people whom we can depend on I mean, to fix things. You know, if we had that in you as a priest, we really like to understand what is your drive in going to fix things that are spoiled. I don't want to disturb myself fixing things that are spoiled. People like to do things that are already good, but it seems you like to go and suffer for things that have already been spoiled by other people.
I think that is sometimes they talk about charism, and whether we like it or not, what you can do, Isaac, maybe Brian cannot do, and Brian has his own charism, which I cannot do. So in theological terms, we can say the gift from God. You know, so sometimes it's just you don't even know it. I don't feel it, but I got to realize as people tell me. I personally I don't know, but I just know that wherever I work, people will always appreciate it, and whichever things are like spoiled, as Brian said, I go there, it will come in its own way. And come to think of it, even when I came over to Charlotte, I left Rome and I came here on vacation. I said mass just twice in the church, and the people said, no, he's not going back. And because the long story short, I was just like 2 months or 3 months in a particular parish, and there was a parish somewhere. Brian knows it, Benedict the Moor. You know, about 3 other priests had worked there. Things were not moving. So they went to the meeting, and they said, there's a young man from Cameroon in St. Vincent. He's the one to go there. And they called me. I was shocked myself. I said, look, I don't even have my documents were still not eligible to work here. I don't know the culture. I don't know anything. And the Bishop of Charlotte said, through his vicar general, told me, no, everybody says you are the one to go there. The secretaries I didn't even know this other background.
That is in Italy now.
No,
that is in America, in the United States. Yes. I came to visit my brother, yeah. And people in the office, the head meeting came and told me, don't go. That's when they told me that things are spoiled in that place. About 3 priests have gone there and they have run away. So they want to like test. I said, well, in my culture, whenever they transfer you anywhere, you've got to go.
You just go.
That's how I went there. And I was there like for 3 years. Brian can tell you how it happened when they transferred me over to another parish.
Yeah, but Brian knows.
So Brian knows. Pastoral work has always been. Yeah.
Brian knows what happened, but our viewers who are following you don't know the details that happened. I mean, and this is why you are here so that we can learn. So I'd like you to take us on the journey. You understand? Okay. Give us an incident on your first day when you resumed to that parish. What happened?
Good. The first day, what happened is that personally, I like to make people happy. That's one of the qualities that I think I have. Even when I was principal, all my functions, I don't like to see people looking sad, because my parents always tell me that you've got to be joyful all the time. And that's why Jesus Christ says, I've come so that they may have life and have it abundantly. So when I came there were lots and lots of complaints and fractions. So I said, no, I don't know how to live in fraction, because we are one.
So what were those complaints and what were those factions, sir?
The complaints were, first of all, there was a clash between the Spanish community and the English community. They were not going together. There was a clash between those who were like Caucasians and those who were like African Americans. So there were those conflicts. And then financially too, the place was not much, there was not enough money. So it frustrated a lot of things. So the first thing that I did was that I said I was not going to work until we had a meeting of all the factions coming together. So that meeting was like the Kickstarter. And in the meeting, I made them to understand that I'm not here to judge any problem or to go to history, but I want us to see a way forward. And that's my philosophy in life. We must always be looking for a way forward, not looking for problems, but to look for solutions. Brian, you know that principle in CUIB with Father George Keze? Yes, we are not asking what is the problem. We are asking what is the solution. Because the solution comes from the problem. So from there, everybody says, that's where the complaints started coming. You know, this one is happening. I said, okay, if you want to give a complaint, give a solution. And the solutions were just communication. Make sure you talk, make sure we come together, make sure we agree before anything happens. And most of all, we had common celebrations time and again. So I think that for me is where the secret is. Communication, coming a way forward, and coming together time and again. You got to realize that in life, I've had a couple of cases where when we come together, even like couples, and then we start talking, you realize that sometimes you are angry with somebody for something that the person did not even do. But for whatever reason, you thought the person did it, and then that strain is there. But when you communicate, you realize that he didn't really do it, or he did something else and it was interpreted for something else. So communication is very, very important. Yes. In that openness to one another.
But you are a black man in America now. There was no racial against black priest, a black priest coming to solve Caucasian, Spanish issues. I mean, it sounds as an impossible thing.
And that is the prejudice that we have. What I've realized is that the white man, in fact, human beings are practical people. They want to see where achievement is. I'll give you a practical example, even about racism. The first church I went, when I mean, at my age, it's difficult to change my accent. I can only go a little far, but I can't really change it. So the first homily I gave, some people said, "Oh, accent." I did not bother. But the good thing is that a good number of people came and they appreciated it so much. And then sometimes I used to tell small stories in between and people will laugh. So I came to realize now those people who came to complain about my accent, now some of them went and got a hearing aid. Some now I realize they'll come and sit right in front to be watching at my mouth because they wanted to follow me. So at the end, it was not even about whether I was speaking well or not, but what I was talking. They knew that what I was talking was interesting. And that's the good thing I've noticed about this country. Talking about assiduity, as we're talking about, Brian. Yeah. Once you start working hard and they know that you are working hard, my brother, they will give it to you. They will not care whether, we are not saying that people should not talk well or whatever. But I think the most important thing is the input that we are putting in the society and where we are. Even this issue of racism, whether you are blue or red, I know it exists. But then, if you excel, you get it.
Yeah.
That's why the president of the United States, we can say that he was half black, half white. But we cannot cancel the fact that he was capable and he pushed himself through.
Yeah. Exactly.
Isaac, talking about communication as a secret, there are a couple of comments that people are communicating their feelings and some are questions.
Good.
Yeah. Good. So Kemeto Lydia says, Pete. And then Farrell Imbia, Farrell Banks says, "Oh, Pete, you inspired us, your children." And then Collins Pizarro, he was in Bishop Rogan too. He says, "Father, you have an outstanding character that I've always loved. That is, you never get angry. You're always happy. What is the secret?" So maybe we'll start with that and then communicate the other comments.
Well, as I said, my father was a role model to me. He was one of those who beat with one hand and take you on the other hand. And he had a lot of soft spot, especially when somebody was sick. If you realize, Brian, when I was in college, students exploited me a lot in that angle.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to go home or somebody wanted to eat extra food or something different, just claim that they are sick. And you just carry my heart.
Yeah.
During a week, I always try to make sure that everybody gets up. And one of the secrets, as I said, about my own happiness is that my parents, no family is an ideal anyhow, but they were happy people. And I just grew up in a society where we had very little, but we were very contented with the little we had. So we just went on happily with our friends and relatives as we move along. So from there, I just convinced myself that, we've got to go, keep going forward.
Mashallah.
Yes, even with the little that we have, God himself wants us to be happy, and that's it.
Mashallah. The next Jusnia, shout out to you. I never knew you knew Pete. So Jusnia says, how far, Padre, your boy Iglo?
Oh,
yeah. And then
tell me that my second book is coming up, and this is one of those who inspired me.
Yes, actually. Yeah, I hope so. Actually, Isaac, we have 30 more minutes, but he's busy, he's scheduled, so we have to fit in everything. And then
Okay.
Farrell
Okay.
Banks,
Wow.
yeah, Imbia says, Pete, how difficult was it for a young man from Fiango to become a priest?
Honestly, it was difficult because I will not. If I tell lies here, my own friends and schoolmates and classmates, they will know that the tale is lying. You know, I was a Fiango man in the typical sense of the word. So
He did.
everything that a normal Fiango person would do.
Yeah.
But as I said, that difficulty was there because I remember when I went to Bishop Rogan, it was normal because anybody could go for high school.
Yeah.
But when I came back, I said I was applying to go to the major seminary. No,
Mm.
all my friends, Benjamin Ella, Joe Keze, Judith Bon, Caro Ella, all of them, you know, it was like a mystery. But I told them time and again that I don't know what is happening, but I've got to go. And
Hmm.
before I realized, you know, some of the places we used to go, some of the things we used to do, I just caught naturally I just felt, and they themselves just knew. Well, when, for example, Sang Malis, we can go during the day, but in the night, sometimes I say, no, I want to stay home. Sometimes I'm in church. Then when I finally came, the first vacation, that was a Christmas vacation that I came with the Sultan, that's when everybody knew that, yes, you know, Sultan is the robe that we had. At
Okay.
that time, everybody gave up. And they supported me enormously, you know, my friends and relatives. Once they realized that I was serious and I was in, they gave me all the support that until today, I still enjoy that support. So it was difficult, but as I said, since it was the will of God, you know, it just had to happen.
Mashallah. So I've been looking at the questions. I think there is one that will get into the meat of Pete, to get into the meat of your specialty as a philosopher. So I will go with the other one first. So Eddie Fogu, I think it's Eddie Photo. He says Eddie Photo here from Canada, longest time. Nice
Oh,
one,
Eddie,
Pete.
longest time.
Yeah. Now, what is the secret of always looking young? That's what
Happiness, man.
Eddie.
Happiness.
That I don't know. I'm celebrating 50 years in December.
Whoa.
I think sometimes it's good to be lighthearted. You know, I remember one of the, I mean, sharing experiences about myself too. When I was in the seminary, the one of the complaints I got like a complaint.
Yeah.
They said I was lighthearted. Lighthearted means he doesn't take things seriously. He laughs all the time. He's always looking happy.
Yeah.
So they expected somebody. So for me, I was panicking. I thought they were going to kick me out of the seminary because of that. So at that time, Bishop Awa was the bishop. When he read that comment, I thought he was going to sign my dismissal, but he said, busted out laughing. And I said, my Lord, I'm confused. Why? He said, you are the type of person we need in the priesthood. He said, there is a lot of tension in ministry now. So when people like you come, you diffuse that. I think for me, that is the good things about life too. You know, some people have that charism just to come into where there is tension and try to diffuse it. And I believe that in as much as the serious people too, they have their own place, the people too are just like, you know, looking lively all the time too, they have their own place. So I guess psychology says if you smile, laugh all the time too, even your Brian, you can explain this better. Even your enzymes are
Yes, right. Yeah.
are warm.
Yeah, and I mean, just to dive a little bit into that, Pete, like lately, I'm thinking of prayer as one way to connect ourselves, and like they say, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So I'm beginning to think that sometimes we can program even ourselves by submitting to God. When we're praying and asking for things, we're able to program ourselves. So similarly, if we get to smile and be happy, we're also passing down that energy to the fundamental cellular level, and that will show us. You know, they say the whole is the sum of the parts. So at the
Yeah,
level of the physical parts, since our cells are all happy, we can then be.
yeah.
Anyway, not to get into too much detail. The next comment and question is from Edward C. Tanko, and thanks Edward for your question. He says, "What do you enjoy the
Eddie.
most? Yeah, what do you enjoy the most being a priest?"
One of the things I enjoy most being a priest is that I have that possibility all the time to communicate with God, and I know that by priest
Hmm.
I'm special. That is always in my mind. So whenever I say my masses, I concentrate really very well. When I say my morning prayer, when I say my prayers, I know that I have that inner joy and satisfaction. I know there is somebody who looks on me in a very special way. That's my first thing that really. And the second thing is just the fact that I have no boundary serving people. You know, I've always been a man of the people right from my childhood, and one of those that people always hang around for one reason or another. And I think now it is working so well as a priest because whenever I see sometimes and I think about A, B, C, D, who claim that I've touched their lives, it gives me a lot of satisfaction. Sometimes it can be very stressful. Some days I don't sleep because this man is calling from here, that one is calling from there, this one wants to get this advice, this one wants this one wants to see you, you know. But then for me, that's where the happiness is. The fact that I'm able to touch the lives of others.
Mashallah.
To make other people happy.
Brian calls you his godfather, right? That's what you always tell me. My godfather is coming here. But Brian is a Muslim, sir. You trained him as a missionary. You trained him in the seminary, and he's out now. He's a Muslim. So you are laughing. I thought you were supposed to be angry.
Mashallah.
A few people have asked me that question in private. Now you have asked me in public. Let me say it probably in the presence of Brian.
Mashallah.
Actually, we live in a world that, well, people are free and people have different inspiration. But honestly, I have the conviction that Brian is somehow an adventurer. Adventurer touches this here, touches that. I'll not be surprised tomorrow. I know he will not end up as a Muslim. Anyhow,
I share the same opinion. I share the same opinion. I can say today because somebody is saying it. Go ahead, sir.
Because the day he told me, I didn't say anything. I just said, well, that's your choice. It's big enough, you know. But I know that it's just people just test things and test it. The course I give to my students in Agricultural and Technological University here in Greensboro is world religion. And world religion has three goals. You know, the idea of an ultimate reality, the ethics, that's relationship, you know, morals, and the reality of life after death. And every religion points to that fact. So at the end of the day, there is that those fundamentals in every world religion. But as a Christian, I believe that Christ is not a way, but the way. And that's why all of us are brought up, including Brian.
Yeah. Well,
So sir, how do we get, because in Africa, right? I don't know about Cameroon, but it's here in Nigeria is one of our major problems where Muslims and Christians cannot coexist together. You know, and so what do we need to do? Or where did we get it wrong and what do we need to do?
I think it is simply because either people who are teaching others how to be Muslims or how to be Christians have not done their job well. Or maybe it's just a normal human divisive tendency. Otherwise, how is it that two brothers grow in the same house and they are fighting every day? That's it. Because fundamentally, there should be no religion should ever fight against one another. I mean, as I said, they have the same goals. Morals, ultimate reality, and the reality of life after death. And those things everybody believes in. So what is it that makes us now to fight? So either people have some material things to benefit, or they have not understood the core of their religion. If you see any Muslim fighting any Christian, I stand to challenge that Muslim or Christian or any religion. They have not understood the core of the religion.
Give me examples, sir. Your samples from the Catholicism, right?
Okay.
Of when a Christian loses it when he fights a Muslim.
Good. Let us say, okay, let's say Christianity, right? There was a time that even Christianity went to war. But that's what they call the Holy War. That has its own context. And that was equally at that historical time too, that many people were ignorant about many things. Come to think of it, there are lots and lots of sects when it comes to every religion. If you look at the core Christianity, the core of Christianity, that type of violence cannot take place. Even Muslim, they say Islam is a violent religion. It's a lie. There's a lot of it's all about peace, jihad.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
Jihad.
Jihad is that aspect of before they go to anything like the war, there's a whole process that they have to pass through. And in the course of history, only like in 2 instances that you can justify that that process was to have taken place. So all these other ones that we have now, Boko Haram and ISIS and all the like, they are all extremists. They are all extremists. Even in Christianity, you have some extremes too. But when you come to the core of Christianity, Islam, and any other religion, violence has no place in this sense of the word. People can disagree, but nobody will take arms against the other.
Yeah, we just pray for each other. Okay, now let's get to that long question.
Look at the time of Jesus Christ. Even Peter took up the sword. Jesus said, if I want fight, I ask my angels to do it. Put it down. And he went for peace until he died for peace.
Yeah. Mashallah. And just about that too, Peter, before we get to this question, also about war, like for Islam to accord the correct jihad, one of the motivations is that if you don't fight, your whole religion will be erased. Let's say if we're in a village and then they attack us, we don't defend ourselves, we'll all be wiped out. And it's the same thing with the Constitution of the United States, where people can bear arms. It's also to protect yourself, so you're not wiped off. So now, how do we reconcile that with the core tenet of Christianity, which is to turn the cheek? Because, like, how do we really know when it's enough to retaliate, or when it's enough to summon courage to not turn the cheek or to catch the hand, but to effect justice, not just for yourself but for all?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, turning the cheek is all about reconciliation.
Okay.
And when it comes to that time, that I have to say this is the time to fight, the hierarchy has to come in. It's not spontaneous.
Okay.
It's not like you just sit in the katamunyenge and somebody comes that, oh, the Muslims are coming, you just pick up. No.
Yeah.
That's how why there is martyrdom. Some people even have to die. At some point, people really have to die. If I start here now, somebody just comes and says, oh, are you a Catholic? I have to kill you. There's no way I can just pick up machete and start fighting that person.
Yeah.
But if it happens in this formal sense of the word, you know, like in Muslim, they have to get to the hierarchy until somebody has to declare.
Yeah.
A certain imam at a certain high level has to declare that, okay, this is the time. And those moments have been very, very rare in history. Just like in Christianity too. The Pope has to say, okay, this is the time for the crusade or the holy war.
Yeah.
But how many of those things have taken place? And some of them that have taken place, even upon analysis, realize that they were not even to have happened.
Yeah, true.
And I think as we go ahead now with the development that has taken place, I think we have passed that level. So people are still fighting for religious purposes, and I don't see the point. Like all this Boko Haram issue going on, it's all about politics. It's not, strictly speaking, that's not the religion of the Muslim that we are talking about.
Mashallah. So
I don't know at which point did Brian accepted that you said it's 1 hour, because there's a lot to talk here.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether I should ask my next question.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I was born a Catholic.
Yes.
Nepa. Is it Nepa, Isaac, or is but then, in Nigeria, Cameroon, Sonel, Nepa, they can just take the light at any time. So on the internet, yeah. So anyway, I would let me ask Jackson's question. So, Isaac is connecting. Let's see, just a second.
Hello?
Yes, Isaac, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I think I had a network glitch.
Okay.
Sir, I was saying I was born a Catholic, right? But eventually we started feeling as if Catholicism was betraying us. Why do I say so? We don't understand the body language of the present papacy, of the present Pope, as regards to the issue of homosexuality.
Yes.
Is the Pope, because I think at some point the Pope said, is it that they are thinking about accepting priests who are homosexuals? Or what is, I mean, hasn't that compromised the whole thing about Catholicism? Some people say, oh, these Catholics in the West, they've evolved to another thing. But we in Africa, we have to stay strong and maintain what we know about about Catholicism?
The Pope can never, in this sense of the word, go against the dogmas of the church, because it's all about morality. There's no ways a Pope can come up to say homosexuality is correct, for example, or same-sex marriage or whatever. No. But I think the problem that is bringing all these things is asking ourselves why people get into things like this, or what prompts people to fall into some of these temptations. But to accept it in itself, no. I remember there was this conference that Archbishop Andrew Kea was the secretary there in Rome. You know this LGBT, they had to.
Can you hear me? I think we had some internet issues. Okay, yeah. But sorry, continue. Yeah.
So it was interesting because at the beginning of that meeting,
Yeah.
because they wanted to look for a compromise. You know, whether we like it or not, Western people have their own ways of looking at these things, and we Africans, as you said.
Yeah.
So when they started in, the Archbishop Andrew had to talk. He was the youngest bishop at that time. He was bishop,
Yeah.
and he told them that as far as he's concerned, he doesn't even want that topic to continue, because if he goes back to his country, for example, and his Christians asked him, "What were you doing in Rome?" and he said, "We're discussing about lesbian, bisexual, homosexual," they will not even understand what he was talking about.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
to him, it's not something that concerns Africa. That was Western, and that closed the topic. Just to tell you that somebody who can be brave, like a bishop, from the African perspective, to push things through. Now, coming back to why the Pope is a little compromising in that, the Pope expects a pastoral approach to people who are victims of that. He is not saying that it's correct. For example, I've counseled people who are involved into homosexuals and things like those. Honestly, my brother, some people are caught in it. It's just like somebody who is a thief. I'm not saying that it's good to steal, but if somebody comes to tell you that, "Father, I don't know what happens. Whenever I see something in Walmart, it's like I should just," I'm bound to sympathize with that person too. Because
yes, kleptomania.
There's a lot of history has pushed people to a lot of things. There are some people who have gotten into certain wayward standards of life, not because of their own fault, but something has just pushed them there. We don't justify what they do, which is not correct. A few days ago, somebody brought into my car and I saw him. This young man was on drugs. So that made me now to find out again why people get to those drugs. Personally, I feel that if somebody is frustrated, go pray, look on Jesus. But you get somebody who is growing in a house that maybe your father is smoking, your mother is on drugs. Nobody even cares whether you go to school or not. Before you realize, you are at the age of 16. All your friends have advanced. And then the only thing they have told you is how the government hates you, social hates you, drug is the only thing for you. You are in that situation. I've seen people like that. Now it's difficult for them to get out. So and that is the problem of the Pope, that we've got to sympathize. You and I can challenge certain things with all power because we have been brought up in another way. Some other person looks at you, he thinks that you are just acting a film by correcting him.
Yeah, so
that's why we just have to pray. Sometimes too, while we correct physically, we just have to pray for people, pray too.
So if I get you correctly, and this is very important to the Africans, to the African Catholics, if I get you correctly, sir, so let's put it in clear terms, sir. If I get you correctly, what you're saying is that the Pope is not just trying to close his eye, just shut your eye and ignore all that homosexuality stands for, but to look into it and understand that some people, you understand, there are some conditions that make these people to go into this practice or to conduct themselves in this manner, you understand, helplessly. Is that what you're saying? And the church being a church of Christ does not condemn, but always seek.
The church condemns. The church condemns the crime or the sin, but the church does not condemn the person as a human being. Good. The church wants to see that person changes. Okay. That's the position of the church. The church will always condemn homosexual, abortion, all is really wrong. But sometimes too, you don't like neglect the persons who have been victimized by sins of that nature. They too belong
Mm.
to the family of Jesus. You try to see how to correct them, how to let them understand that that way is not good, because sometimes you don't know why somebody is stuck in that particular sin. With due respect to the fact that it's a crime, it can lead you to hell, it can destroy you physically and spiritually. The role of the church is to help that person to grow and to be a better person.
Mashallah.
Thank you. Now
Mashallah.
I think Africans have gotten the perspective, because it's really a big problem in Africa about the
Yes,
present
and
papacy,
if you
how
look
they
at
look to.
African context, for example, for us it's not really an issue. Maybe in the modern world with the television or whatever, it has become an issue because we grew up. For example, people would, your relatives come, you sleep on the same bed and nothing happens, whatever. But in the Western world, like I've seen children, they start teaching them in primary school how to choose their sex.
Mhm.
They start making them understand that morality has to be flexible. You choose what you want. So at the age of maybe 9, 10, a boy already knows that he's either attracted to a to a boy, and he's free to do that, and it's my right
Yeah.
as in the Western world. But in the African context, there are certain zones that are no-go zones. You cannot even there.
Yeah,
Yes.
They don't
yeah.
exist.
So
Yeah.
does that makes us uncivilized people?
No, I think for me, just as I am explaining in my other book that is to come, it makes us really more God-fearing, because the ways of God, I believe that the ways of God, we are really strict and clear about what is the way of God. Yes. So it is that God-fearing mentality that we have, which for me is good. The only thing that has spoiled us is that politics again has come to make us understand that you can twist anything for whatever reason. Africa, as real traditional Africa, I think we were just okay with that, our respectful and God-fearing nature.
Yes, yes, I think so too. I think so. And Brian,
Yeah.
you have a comment you want to read, because
There is
there's
a
a
long
relative
question that
question.
I've been thinking since from the beginning, and
Okay, oh
yeah,
yeah, okay. I also
yeah.
okay,
So
okay.
I would read. I can read all, and then we start breaking it. So it's from Call Jackson. Thank you, Jackson. So he says, "Thank you, Padre, for creating time for this chat. Looking at spirituality, you have taught us a lot as young people while growing in this seemingly confused world. You helped shape our understanding of spirituality and the concept of God in Christianity. However, we've come to realize that most of the images exposed in our congregations are purely of white Jesus while blackenizing the devil. This has played a great role in building an inferiority complex on the black race as a whole. So, one, as a teacher of the gospel and an African New Generation scholar, do you feel you played a role either directly or indirectly in driving this image agenda, this hidden agenda? Second, would we be wrong to assume that the inability of the Catholic Church to clarify the public perception of a white God, Jesus, is largely responsible for the rise of a new wave of churches that are bent on further exploiting the poor people? And the last one, looking at Africa in relation to other parts of the world, has God really abandoned us? Why is Africa at the bottom of the development ladder when we seemingly spend more time praising and calling on gods? So that's the first round. Should I start
Wonderful. But I
breaking
think
them
I
down?
just start from the last question there. My book,
Okay.
Hegel's Philosophy of History, the challenge to the African thinker. I try to
Excellent.
ask that question as to whether we are condemned
Yeah.
to remain in this level forever. I mean, as Africans. And I think that is just unfortunate that we are in this quagmire.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate because whether we like it or not, we have that inferiority complex as Africans. But I believe that we can rise out of it. And one of the ways I think we can rise out of it is by getting ourselves really independent. That's I don't want to get into politics. But for me, as to whether it is Amazonia or it is La Republic or it is Nigeria or whoever, for me, it's immaterial. The most important question we ask ourselves as Cameroonians is how can we coexist? Because if we divide ourselves, that's how we shall continue dividing. There's a lot that unites us, which if we eradicate this exploitative tendency, which unfortunately the white man has made us to understand that that's how it should be. because they have successfully captured the intelligence, the political arena to know that that's how they should live. So for me, if we can successfully convince ourselves that we are brothers and sisters and forget about all this issue of exploiting one another or doing things because I want to appease the white man, or the white man can solve our problems, whether it's Donald Trump or the other man in France or whoever.
Yeah.
I think those are things that would leave us in this quagmire. We've got to learn how to respect each other in spite of our languages, in spite of our geographical boundaries. Otherwise, United States, look at it as big as this, in spite of their own problems. But they go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
True.
So look at our own country, look at our population. We want to keep dividing. Where shall we end?
Yeah.
So I don't want to get into that anyhow, but that's my perspective. As I say,
Yeah.
it's not as if God has abandoned us, but we've got to challenge ourselves. And then talking about the black Jesus and whatever, I think it's unfortunate that, sorry, the white Jesus and white supremacy.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that the white man brought us Christianity and they had to present it in their own way. But unfortunately, even some of us in our studies as we went ahead, that's when we realized that somehow they they didn't really put it in the way that it was supposed to be. Because strictly speaking, Jesus is not white.
Yeah.
He's not white
Yeah.
in terms of color.
Yeah.
And if you come to my church, Brian, you have seen it.
Yes. Yes.
My
Yes.
church is predominantly African American.
Yeah.
They are married, all their pictures, they are black.
Yeah.
It's very radical, yes.
Uh-huh.
You go to the image of Jesus, Mary, all is black. But the bottom line is this: whether he is black, he is white, he is God. So that's for me, which drives me, which I feel that should drive us, is about the principles of Jesus, the rules of God that we are to follow. The unfortunate thing is that the same Christians are the same people who get into some of these tenets that exploit others. That's where the unfortunate thing is. But all this color and whatever for me is accidental.
Mashallah, mashallah. So I think we touched it, and Isaac, hope that's that.
Yeah.
So let me use this opportunity to share my screen and show Peter's book, the first book.
Okay.
Yeah, in which some of his questions are answered. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so we can see this, and wait 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to.
The girls.
Yeah, here it goes.
Philosophy.
Yeah, I need to share it on. Yeah, so this is Peter's book. It's called Hegel's. I'll just read it.
Brian, okay, good. Go
Yeah, can
ahead
you
now.
see? Yeah, Hegel's philosophy of history, a challenge to the African thinker, compliments to Leopold Sedar Senghor. That's from for the Basile book, and here it is again. I think I'll put the link in the chat. So anyone
Okay.
is interested. Yeah, so it's written by Father Basile. This
Challenge
is his
to
first
African
book.
thinker, compliment to Leopold
Yeah.
Sedar Senghor.
Yes. No, this is
Yeah.
actually his first book. Well, this is one book. I remember, Peter, the religion book we used while we were in secondary school was you wrote it. So, yeah. So with that book you can get I think you'll be able to get more answers to some of the questions. So now there was another question. Let me get to it. There was a question from Bandiroga. So he says theology. What is theology to an African?
First of all, the word theology simply means the study of God. Theo is God. Logos, study. So theology, study of God. You know, and most often when we talk about theology is mostly in the Christian sense, study God. But to an Africa, we have our own African theology. And that's the challenge that I'm bringing. My second book is going to be very radical because I'm trying to prove the fact that Christianity existed in another way, even though the person of Christ was not there. And even better,
That's serious.
the life of the Christian, I felt it better I'm sorry to say it, in Africa than here. Because Christianity is all about, loving one another, coming together, socializing, which we have more back home.
Yeah.
So in that case, the theology of an African is what they call personalism, which in the Western world, when I was studying philosophy and theology, It was like a new thing they were bringing in. They are recommending that we should take theology to the classroom, to the field. So I'm trying to, I was disproving the panel in one of the papers I presented, that in Africa, we are instead taking it to the field, into the classroom.
Yeah.
So who is better?
Mm.
But unfortunately, again, I say unfortunately, with globalization, people tend to think that Western theology is better than African theology. I'm not in any way disputing Christianity. No, I'm a priest, or Islam, or any foreign religion. No,
Yeah.
they have already enlightened us to in a way. But what I'm saying is that the African traditional religion in itself, that's African theology, about the ancestors, about the respect we have for our parents and even for those who have died, about the way we apply ourselves to work, even about our own politics. That was about, having that respect, judging cases to the extent that we don't punish people to kill them, even though some of those extremes happen, which we've got to push aside. If we follow that, we'll be better persons. And I still think that if Africans, that's one of the recommendations I'm bringing in this my Hegel's philosophy of history. I'm recommending that if Africans want to grow, there are 4 things we need to do: good governance, which again is taken for granted; African spirituality. We go back to the essence of our spirit. How were we before the white man came?
Yeah.
Because that's where our core is.
Yeah.
That's how our own personalities are.
Yeah.
Phobia can be there for 200 years. We are used to chiefs being there until they die.
Yeah.
So how do we make use of somebody staying in an office as a chief stayed in offices, and at the same time we do well? Those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. So African theology is to go back to African style of life.
Yeah. Wow. Mashallah. Actually,
Mm.
so yeah, we hit 1 o'clock. So as the last question for Teve, that will be very deep. So now, from your explanation of in the philosophy of Hegel, you mentioned good governance, and also there's this practical aspect of going back to how we were as a people, right?
Yes.
So that now that all puts me in this position where I have to choose between idealism and the reality, like what is right in front of me.
Good,
So
exactly.
yeah, so now as we look at it too from the lens of experiences, we see that, and that's what's summarized in the Quran somewhere, that man is constantly in loss. As we grow
Yes.
older, we either lose family, we lose our abilities, we become older, but that once you're connected with God, you gain. So, but how do you connect with God? You have to know yourself, know your environment. And so far, there are 2 factors that really help us see life. One is faith, one is religion. And they're constantly battling. You see, so
Yeah.
so how do we as youths that are coming up reconcile this aspect of faith and then use reason in it? Like me as a scientist or an engineer, and me, some of my friends find it ridiculous that I am also like I'm a Muslim, or I believe in a God. They think that if you're a scientist, God does not exist, or if God exists to you, then science is nonsense. So how do we reconcile those so we can make the world better and enjoy to lose whatever happens as we age?
Yeah, I think we've just got to, as a Pope John Paul II in his encyclical Fides et Ratio, faith and reason, got to make sure that they go together.
Okay.
The idea is that sometimes we think that they fight, they conflict,
Yeah.
they want to challenge each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the error that the early theologians and the early scientists did.
Okay.
So there was a lot of fight between, if you read Galileo, that was the person who said that, who first, the Copernican theory, that's how they call it.
Yeah.
He said that the world was the one going around, the sun was fixed.
Yeah.
Whereas the church was teaching, I think it's from the book of Exodus or so, that it was the sun,
Yeah.
that goes round. The sun was going round.
Yeah.
Of course, the Bible was not written to satisfy geographical curiosity.
Yeah.
So that could have just been some kind of an error of the person who wrote, because the Bible is for theological facts.
Yeah.
All the other historical things, geographical things that are put there were just meant to sustain those facts. That's the exaggeration we gave the person who might have written that part. But the fact is this: when Galileo came up, now that it's actually the Earth. Am I correct? It's the Earth that
Yes.
rotates, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
not the sun.
Yeah.
He was like excommunicated. There was a lot of tension, But as time went on, Many other scientists, Isaac Newton, they came up with the God of the gap situation just to tell us that no matter how much science goes, there are certain fundamental questions that science cannot answer. So science should be there to help religion, and religion should be there to now to help science. Because there are certain aspects to that we should not over involve in terms of science. That's why Gregory Bateson, one of his books, Why Are Things in a Model? He says he fixes his table and his child comes and scatters it, he cannot find his pen, or he cannot find his. So that's how the word is.
Yeah.
God has put the word in a way that, science want to come and distort things. That science should understand that there should be some certain no-go zone. I mean, I don't want to get into the nonsense of that, but I don't see any reason, for example, why I'm a man today.
Yeah.
And then because science has that knowledge, they change me to a woman.
Yeah.
Is that really necessary?
Yeah.
You may want to satisfy a human being who thinks he's not satisfied or she's not satisfied with his sex.
Yeah.
But what value have you added to the world by
Yeah.
changing somebody who's a man to be a woman? That's what a theology or that's what religion will not accept.
Okay.
Because God created man to be this way.
Yeah.
So we just have to agree on those things that it's all about faith and those things that reason can help to answer.
Mashallah, mashallah. So thanks for
Well,
that. Yeah.
thank you very much. These are very interesting revelations. So I think that you will still have to come back here sometimes,
Obviously.
to give us an overview, of your book in a manner that we understand. We Africans, we don't really like to read very well, so you understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say if you want to hide something from an African, put it in a book. But that's a cliche because a lot of people are reading now and all of that. So I like to ask, when I was asking the questions about homosexuality and all of that, and pedophile and all of that, it seems the Catholic Church in the West is trying to purge itself of all these vices. But back here in Africa, in Nigeria, where I am, it's not pedophilia. It's priests having girlfriends, priests having wives, priests sleeping with church members and choir people and everywhere. In Nigeria, as I will tell you and I show you, the priests don't even hide this. So what is happening? Is it been legitimized now?
No. It's not legitimized. The priesthood, before you get into the priesthood, you know what it entails. The principles are very clear, and nobody is forced to get in there. As a matter of fact, as far back as a minor seminary, as Brian will testify, you apply before you go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you get into high school, you apply, you get to any class, so you accept their consent to go, and you know all the principles. So if you see a priest faltering in that way, there are just two reasons. Either he regrets the fact that he's in there, or he has been just captured by the trend of events in human weaknesses, which I see some married people too, they can't handle just one. They want to go left, they want to go right. You see some young people, they have told you, stay focused until you get married before you start touching a woman. But they have 5 or 6 people there. You see some government people now struggling to embezzle money left and right. So those particular witnesses are the witnesses that might have trapped some priests. Even here in the United States, they have convicted some priests even for pedophilia and things like those. Those are witnesses to that camp. But at the same time,
and this is what I'm saying. The Catholic in the West is trying to purge itself of that. But in Africa, we've not seen anybody. You people have not done anything to these priests that are sleeping with women everywhere.
No. People are being challenged. People are challenged.
I want to hear, sir.
Yes, people are challenged and sanctions are taken. But at the same time, too, as we always say, of course, you don't accept that something is correct because other ones are correct. But at the same time, you have great personalities too who are praised. We have great people who struggle and are keeping the things going. And at the same time, people just find themselves too in particular situations where they fall in that situation and then they realize themselves, purify themselves, and pick it up again and keep going.
Okay.
But the extreme, which you present as people just doing things without seeing any, with impunity, put it that way, as if it is just normal. That's really wrong. And if I see a colleague or a friend in that level, I already want to challenge him with all pastoral, a cat on my hands. And at the same time too, like persons we feel corrected, when people realize that, hey, we are falling into this weakness, it takes somebody to come and remind you that, is this one true? Because sometimes you get some of these things out there which have no fundamentum in Ray. I know that they happen. I know, I will not refuse. But sometimes you get people just talking some of those things without, which are not true. You see somebody carrying a woman in the car, conclusions have taken place. Or a woman visiting a priest, conclusions have taken place. I have some of these women too, or even men, because now you don't even know who is who have a lot of bad will. They set people up for certain reasons. Because either they want to bring you down, or they want to gain some legal things out of you, or they want to gain some other things out of you. So there's a lot going on, which above all, we just need to pray that people respect their vocations and go on, and people respect others' vocations too.
But is the Catholic Church as an institution in Africa looking at this problem? So it's a big problem in Nigeria. I don't know how much well you know it, but to be sincere,
the church is universal. The church is universal. There's a general rule, the code of canon law that outlines all these things. It's just that the Western world has put stricter values because of their own culture, as strict as their culture is. You know the way Africa is. Even politically, there are certain things happening there that just go. But you cannot dare them here. So each people have their own ways of handling things. But I must assure you that the hierarchy cannot notice a priest or a clergy getting wayward and they just allow him to go. No. And so I've known so many cases that sanctions are already taken. Even in Nigeria, sanctions are taken.
Mashallah. Well, Peter, as you know, if we want to chat, somebody will have to come and send us away that people should go and sleep. We'll chat here tonight. So yeah, thanks a lot for showing up. And so, do you have anything to tell us that you want to communicate? Perhaps we didn't ask that we want to communicate before we try to set a date or some event, so you come and tell us more about the book.
Or if I have another opportunity to ask another question, or I'll wait till next time.
Yeah, probably next time.
Okay, sir. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Peter, anything for us? Like anything maybe we didn't ask, anything you want to communicate to us before we...
Yeah, I think I just want to encourage us to keep going. You know, we live in a world that is full of challenges. And for those who are in Cameroon, it's just to keep working hard, because we live in a country or in a continent that everybody looks forward to abroad. As good as it is here, it's not the best. For me, I think that the best could be back home.
Yeah.
But again, the same us have spoiled it in such a way that we don't even know where to pick up. So the challenge to ourselves, especially the younger people, is just to keep on being innovative. You know, just see what new thing can I put into my society, to my community. Try to avoid idleness at all costs. And for us back home, of course, or back abroad, of course, we continue to encourage one another, support our friends back home, and above all, to pray. No matter how much we fight to fix things better, we just have to pray that God Himself, in His mercy, will touch those who do not want us to go steps higher. And Africa remains the foundation of the world, the springboard of everything in the world today. So we've got to be proud of our continent, and at the same time make use of any gift or charism that God has given us for the good of mankind.
Mashallah. Thank you, Vete.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
for
showing
your
up.
words, sir.
So I have posted the link to the philosophy of history here. Anyone can look at it and see more of Father's book. So we'll have another or other episodes where we'll dive deeply into the book, and also we'll have a book launching for the next book in the future, inshallah. So thank you, Fete.
So,
thanks, Isaac. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry, Isaac, go on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Isaac, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to assure people that for people watching in Nigeria, when next Pete comes back here, he's going to maybe give us answers to whether a priest can resign for being a priest and go and get married and continue his normal life. So you guys stay tuned if you want to hear that answer. So you wait next time. I'm sure Pete will come back here as soon as possible to give us those responses here. Thank you very much, sir, for having you.
Mashallah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for that. Yeah. Until we meet again. Bye.